throwing, without soreness, there's a process. And, last week with the trainers, he had one throwing day. Then yesterday, the same way. And it's really asymptomatic, feeling good, strong, and like you can function and be an asset and play well.
All right, Diana Rossini gets up early with us, our NFL insider extraordinaire, who has this game this weekend. You have Saints-Chiefs this weekend, and you cover the Saints very closely generally. So what is the latest on Brees, and when do you believe we will know who the starter will be?
I think we're going to know later today who the starter will be. So much credit to the Saints organization, Greeny. It's Friday. We have no idea who's going to start on Sunday. This is how well kept, or at least how disciplined this team is. Nothing has been leaked out just yet. So there's a little bit of reading the tea leaves. I did make some calls on this. And here's the sense, Greeny, I'm getting a lot of optimism here. So we talked last Friday, and I was like, Greeny, no way. They're going to be conservative. We're not going to see Drew Brees until the playoffs. Well, it sounds like Drew has looked good in practice. He's getting healthy. They have gone day by day with him just to check with the trainers to make sure he's close to 100%. But it would not shock me if Drew Brees played against the Kansas City Chiefs.
That video we were just showing you was Brees working this week. And as you point out, Diana, he did look really good. So, again, you're covering this game. How are the Chiefs preparing for this defensively, not knowing who it is they're going to face?
Yeah, this is so interesting, and this is where Sean Payton is once again brilliant. Why tell anybody who's going to start and give that advantage away? Because now the Chiefs, they've got to prepare for 3 quarterbacks because you have no idea who New Orleans is going to go with. Is it going to be Taysom Hill? Is it going to be Jameis Winston? Is it going to be Drew Brees? But here's what I found out talking to Tyrann Mathieu yesterday. He said they're doing tons of work on Taysom Hill. He says he's so mobile and he's such a unique type quarterback that they've got to do more work on him. They know what Drew Brees can do. And he even said, he's like, look, all due respect, he is a Hall of Fame quarterback, that being Drew Brees. He said, but prepping for Taysom Hill takes more work. We have to do more at practice preparing for him. And it really seems and feels like this Chiefs defense are spending most of their time getting ready for Taysom Hill on Sunday.
Again, they do have the 3 options. People sometimes forget that Jameis Winston is there, and those are 3 really different players, Brees, Hill, and Jameis. Let me bring the guys back in here, and let me start with you. Again, not being privy to all of the information that Sean Payton has, mainly exactly what the doctors are saying and exactly how Brees is looking. But knowing what you know, if it was your decision, who would be the starting quarterback on Sunday?
Well, first of all, it's all about Drew Brees' health, right? You want Drew Brees to be at 100%. And if Drew Brees is at 100%, if he can function, if he can protect himself, if he can play the game that we're used to seeing Drew Brees play in 2020, Drew Brees is the starter. And I don't think you really think about it. I think it's a no-brainer. One, he's a future Hall of Famer that if he wants to play and the doctors give him the okay, you allow him to play. And let's remember, the only reason Drew Brees comes out of the game against the San Francisco 49ers after leading a drive for a touchdown, after suffering the injury, is because he told Sean Payton he couldn't go anymore. So obviously they want him out there if he can be. This team needs the #1 seed, and not because things have to go through New Orleans and it's hard to win there, but because you don't want this Drew Brees to have to play in Green Bay in those weather conditions against Aaron Rodgers. You want to be able to play in the conditions you control, which is the Superdome.
Yeah, again, I will remind everyone of exactly what it looks like when you play a conference championship game in Lambeau Field. What Lambeau, the perfect illustration of that is the face of Tom Coughlin. Can we put that up, Kalen? Again, we had it yesterday. That is what it looks like. That is the perfect illustration of playing a game at Lambeau Field in January. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. That one is worth 1,000,000 words. And Rob Ninkovich, you were making that point, right? That if Drew Brees is going to get himself back to a Super Bowl again, he's probably going to have a hard time doing it if he's not doing it in his own building.
Yeah, the last time I checked, the thermostat in the Superdome set at 70 degrees, which is pretty nice with 0 wind. So the Saints, they need that number one seed so they can have that home field advantage. You don't want Drew Brees going up to Lambeau trying to throw a spiral through a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind with negative temperatures. You don't want that. So in this matchup, Saints versus KC, they're going to have Drew Brees out there. I think if he does come back, you could do some type of platooning where Taysom is the guy and then Drew comes in on gotta have it plays where you're throwing the ball down the field, because when you're preparing those two guys, it's two different call sheets defensively. So it's going to be a tall task for Kansas City if they do not know who the starting quarterback's going to be.
Bart, you see it differently. Tell me why.
Yeah, just like my mom when I used to play with my BB guns. Yo, you guys better stop until somebody puts an eye out. Listen, it's all fun and games when somebody adds some barbecue sauce and ribs for Drew Brees.
All right, Ralphie.
And it's all fun and games. And I know he feels healthy and he feels well. But if somebody hurts him, all your chances of winning the Super Bowl is out the window. This isn't the same typical New Orleans Saints football team. This is a tough football team led by their defense. And I think that they can go on, and that travels every single place you go. Who's to say that they're going to end up in Lambeau? If they're the top two seeds, listen, Green Bay is a team that can easily be picked off with the lack of defense that they have there. I believe that, you should go with Jameis Winston and see what he has. At the end of the day, you still have Minnesota. You have the Panthers. Those are homecoming games. You're going to be 12-4. You can beat anybody. Don't put Drew Brees at risk. Protect him from himself.
It is possible that we will get that news at some point before we go off the air today. We will certainly keep an ear to the ground. Guys, stay with me here because next up is championship weekend in college football. What a weekend this is going to be. Tomorrow, Big Ten. It's Northwestern and Ohio State. Strength against strength. The Wildcats are number 2 in scoring defense. The Buckeyes are 4th in offense. So that's good against good. In the Big 12, it's Oklahoma against Iowa State. The Sooners lost this matchup earlier this season. Since then, they're 6-0. Oklahoma has won each of the last 4 Big 12 titles. In the SEC, it's Alabama, Florida. 10th time these two meet in this game, the most frequent conference championship matchup ever. Bama has won 3 straight meetings against the Gators. And then, of course, the ACC. This one probably has the most riding on it. Clemson and Notre Dame, just the 4th time that top 5 teams meet twice in the same season. In the previous 3, the loser of the first game won the rematch. That would be good news for Clemson, which was the loser of the first game. Desmond Howard and Paul Feinbaum join us here. Thanks for getting up with us early, guys. And Des, let's talk about the difference this time around for Clemson. Obviously, no Trevor Lawrence the first time around. How does that change what we expect to see tomorrow?
Well, Green, going against Clemson without Trevor Lawrence in that first game is like being in a talent show competition and going against the Jackson 5 without Michael Jackson and you get Jermaine singing lead. There's just so much that they can do as a group without Michael. But now you insert Michael, that's a whole different Jackson 5. And when you insert Trevor Lawrence, that's a whole different offense. I will tell you this, they will run the ball with the quarterback more than they did in the first game. Don't forget, Trevor Lawrence is projected to be the #1 draft pick in the 2021 NFL draft. You go from the #1 draft pick to a 5-star freshman running your offense. That limits your playbook. Now the playbook is wide open. I expect that Trevor Lawrence is going to use his legs just like he did a year ago against Ohio State. And I believe they'll go downfield, go vertical more, and roll him out on the edges. There's just so much more you can do with your offense when you have the projected #1 draft pick running the offense. So that's the difference I see in Clemson's offense against Notre Dame tomorrow.
Absolutely. And so I think most people, including our FPI, believes that Clemson will win the game. And as you see on your screen, they're a 10.5-point favorite. But, Paul, I'm coming back to you on this one more time. We've thought about it all week long. Let's live in a world where Notre Dame wins this game because that's what throws open all the other scenarios. If Notre Dame beats Clemson in this game, who does that put in?
First of all, I appreciate Desmond going back to my era of music with the Jackson 5. I really think Texas A&M is sitting there in great shape. I don't know how you possibly can put Clemson in after losing to the same team twice. I mean, nobody can stand that other than Dabo Swinney. The Iowa State conundrum, I don't buy, Greeny, because they did lose at home early in the season to Louisiana by only 17 points. Come on, that's not even on the table. And then, Cincinnati deserves a shot. I certainly think they should be under consideration, but it looks like Texas A&M at 5 is sitting there in the best shape.
And very quickly, Desmond, because the crew that you work with on College Game Day, Herbie and many others, have been outspoken this year, more than any that I can remember, about what we would typically call in college basketball the mid-major. People are looking at Cincinnati and the plight of them. I just wanted to get your perspective on that, on the idea that teams are getting the benefit of the doubt based on reputation and all the rest of that. A lot of people seem to be really more upset about that than I've ever heard them before. Are you?
You know, Greeny, I've been upset about that from day one, because when you came with this whole model of a college football playoff system and you only have 4 slots, but then you have the Power 5, that automatically leaves out one group in the Power 5 plus the group of 5. That's why Cincinnati or Coastal Carolina, they would never get a fair shot, a fair deal, or an opportunity unless something completely catastrophic happens with the Power 5 team. So I've always been a strong proponent against this system, because I thought the selection process is just as flawed as the BCS selection process was, if not more. And now it's starting to finally come to the surface, and people are starting to see it for what it actually is.
Super quick, Paul, do you think that there is enough momentum, enough people who feel that way, that we could see change?
No, because the people that matter aren't listening. These are the same people that screwed up the college football season, Greeny, that were all together until they weren't when the Big Ten and the Pac-12 went their separate ways. There's no universal voice in college football, and there's not enough time today to talk about a czar.